example, the 200, the oil revenue we put aside to start reducing our debt. We use our oil revenue to pay $336 million US. First time ever for us.
Okay.
We left 200 million. And we were targeting the bond, which His Excellency, during the time of His Excellency President Kufuor, was issued, the first bond which gave us access to the market. You have to behave well before you can go back to the market. So we realized in 2014 that, wait a minute, even if we win the elections, at the time we will say when we win the elections.
Okay.
3 years, and we've not paid down even a penny at that point.
Okay.
We're paying interest. So we decided, however difficult the situation, gas supply and all those things, we started putting money aside. Then when we did 2015 bond, we used it to refinance 200 million. We used 200 million of the $1 billion to refinance that bond. Left with 550 million. I can assure you that all the 550 million was paid from money which we put in the sinking fund, despite all our difficulties. You can agree with me that if we are taking that 500 million and use it to reduce the deficit as we were used to doing, and we had even heated arguments with the IMF on that point. Why don't you use it? We said, no, we have to be in the market again as a middle income country to be able to borrow. So we can't be looking at the deficit, we must look at the debt.
I have some general questions I want to be asking you this morning.
So
before we go deep, delve into the economy in particular.
I know, so I'm giving you this particular example to show.
The word borrowing seems to be on the mouth of every finance minister, past or current. Borrowing, borrowing, borrowing. We keep borrowing. What is the reason for the borrowing? And why is it that we are not able to achieve what we borrow for?
That is a change we started. You see, there were former finance ministers. There were former, finance experts on the Constitutional Committee. And they put in the Constitution, chapter 13, it wasn't compulsory, but optional. They recommended two things. One, we should set up a sinking fund so that you can go to the market when you borrow, put money aside to pay down. You don't just keep refinancing, which was our habit. So they were talking from experience. We never instituted it until 2014 when we saw the Kufuor bond coming and we realized, so we started it. So we paid out of the 550, we provided all the money. In fact, there was 200 million plus which the MPP used on October 4th, 2017. They can challenge it. They never mentioned it. That money to pay off the balance of the Kufuor bond, which gave them room to borrow. Now, the rationale for borrowing is this. It's like a household. You see, you can have income, right? Even if you're a manager. If you're, let's say, general manager for, let me say, pick one of the top people here. The income may be good, comfortable, at least pay school fees and other things. But you own a house, right? They cannot build a house immediately. So they have to negotiate a mortgage. God willing, they know if they keep a job at that level for 10 years, they will pay down the mortgage. 15 years, they will pay down the mortgage. Because their income, they know that if I put 20-25% aside, I can, pay a mortgage. You can go to buy a car because you know your income. If they say take out, 30 million to buy, a new standard car, today, befitting a manager. Few people, even though their income is high. And that's why every economy, the advanced countries, they have banks and others that give loan. So from household, let's come to government.
Okay.
From business. The last time I was here, this has been refitted.
That's right.
Right? I don't think they refitted it from income immediately.
The accountants,
they went for a loan.
They go for tomorrow.
Then it's up to Captain Smart to make sure that you get enough adverts, so that the loan.
But our challenge, I decided not to ask follow-up questions of the few main questions I want to ask, but I'm tempted to do this.
Yes.
Government is actually struggling with the ordinary, borrowing from the local banks. You go, you borrow. Government come, they go, they borrow. So we, the ordinary, that would have to fall on the banks to get the money. Government is also chasing the same money with us. Interest rates so high. So even if I want to borrow, say 1 million Ghana cedis to do a project, if the value of the money is say 70%, by 2 months' time, the value of that same amount of money that I borrowed from the bank reduced to say 25, 30%, all because prices of commodity, fuel, everything, boom, 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 without any recourse to the ordinary in society. I don't know if you have an answer to
No,
this.
yes, it's an important principle in finance and in economics, in managing the economy. That is why you have domestic borrowing and you have foreign borrowing.
Okay.
And that is why you need a fund, like the sinking fund. Let me come back to you, brought it, you know, to be paying down and respect the capital markets. So you can be going there to borrow. And then you earn more forex, you create self-financing like Terminal 3 because the airport tax that we use bundled to do Terminal 3 is forex.
Okay.
So you don't have to be depending. You are depending on the project now, right? So you are no longer depending on the budget. So the budget can then take loans, foreign loans to do schools and others without the burden of SOEs who cannot. If they don't pay me dividend, the principle we had is if you can't pay me dividend, pay for the cost of the project, right? So when you do that, then you have easier access to the capital markets. But to continue that access to the capital markets, you must be paying down so that the capital markets will respect you. And then your interest rate will start going down from 10% to 8% to 6%, you know, because you are behaving, right? Then your access to the external market, because most of the projects we are going to do will be in forex anyway. You know, all the things that we don't fabricate many of the things that were used for Terminal 3. We don't fabricate the things that are used for bridges and many things. A time will come when we have to start doing that. But you need money to do that. Private sector.
Why haven't we started years back? Nkrumah started,
let me answer
Buzia continued. And then during the Fourth Republic, all the governments we've had in the Fourth Republic decided not to go into industrialization. You decided to go into only borrowing.
No. Wait, let's finish. You know, let me just land on the.
Just the point that you made.
It's related. Okay. But let me land on this very important point. So if you continue to behave, right, then your ratings go up. You see the importance of the ratings.
Okay.
It's not about you setting up your rating agency. You are in the capital markets. So Fitch will always be there, whether you set up yours, whether EU sets up theirs or not. They'll be there. And it will take time to gain that respect that they have. If you set up a Ghana rating agency or an African rating agency, it will take, because they have been there for many, many years. Anyway, so when your ratings improve, your interest rate goes down, right? And that's why they say some bonds can be investment grade because they move from the B plus up into A.
Okay.
So you're able to borrow. If you're able to borrow softly, then you are not coming to the domestic market to borrow to finance your budget. You still borrow, but you depend less, right? So right now, since last year, we've not been able to go to the capital markets. So the trend the path we were creating with a sinking fund from one oil field, we had 3. We discontinued it. And then we went back and we were just refinancing. Refinancing means you go and borrow. It's all using your own money to pay down. So you see, those golden years from 2017 to 2019, before COVID, what were we doing with the oil money?
Okay.
Remember again, when COVID struck, much of the money in the stabilization fund that we took to date, we have taken about 380 million. Most of it came from what we left. So what did we do? If you take 250 million, they started with 250 million, now it's gone up to 88 million. About 380 million.
Okay.
Right? What if with 2 oil fields we had been building it up? Maybe with COVID, we would have been able to take out 500, 750. 250 is 1/4 of the loan we took from IMF. 500 is half of the loan we took from IMF. If from your own oil revenue, you tighten your bet when output increase and when oil revenue price increased because we were below 50. It got up to 68, and today, and mind you, prices at 100 plus with one oil field was what we used to build stabilization, sinking fund, and all those things, infrastructure fund, and all those things. Why haven't you been able to continue with 3 oil fields? That is the question. Before COVID, this was some of us say, don't blame everything on COVID. It was good because you inherited 3 oil fields. You had 200 million to pay down the Kufuor bond. You had money in the stabilization fund to rely. But by the way, to get to where I was going, if you were even able to put, let's say 250 times 3, because somebody with one field put 250, you will say 3 fields. If you were able to increase that by 3, 750, that is how you win yourself from the IMF. Even if you are going to the IMF, you would have gone for 250 million. You wouldn't have gone for 1 billion. That is the process for winning yourself, the structures.
Okay, let me ask my final general question. We have gold, we have diamond, we have bauxite, all the natural resources and everything. We still can't develop. I want to ask you this, and I want you to be sincere with me. Are there any external factors, external pressures that actually force government of Africa not to do the right thing?
There will always be pressure.
Not to do the right thing?
No. Oh, no.
Like making sure you have potable water, making sure you have the roads, you have everything.
No, let's start from assuming you even want to do the right thing. You are not, for the moment that you want to do the right thing and change course, you are still not in control of your cocoa that is used for chocolate. You are still not in control of the gold. It will take time to set up refineries. You remember we started gradually.
Okay.
We can process our own gold. But government should behave, not to disrupt that process.
No, but the process is that even if you want to do good, there are some external pressures.
Yes. So let me.
So some of the pressures.
No, but you must change first. You must change the structures. So I gave the example of Terminal 3, which instead of coming to the tax and allowing airport company to be taking that money and not performing, we are saying you have other services at the airport. Use that to pay yourself. We did the same thing for MPS. So MPS is fully financed. I don't know if it's still, but it's supposed to be fully financed. That was the term sheet we gave. From demurrage, and other things. If you import your car and it delays, you pay Ghana Ports Authority, you pay them, in forex. We ring-fence all that money, and we said, let the project pay for itself. You mentioned Nkrumah. Are you aware that Akosomo Dam paid for itself? VRE. From the tariffs. Sankofa. So if we lost that discipline, we are saying it is visible that how come 50 years, our pioneer leader, built so much infrastructure, but we couldn't even rehabilitate. We couldn't even expand the airport. We couldn't even export Tema, port, and the basic infrastructure.
Are there any external pressures on devaluing our currency? I listened to a former Nigerian finance minister, I've forgotten the name, and he was reiterating that there are certain points that the World Bank, the IMF, will send some small boy economists go to some African countries and either force or kind of maneuver that devalue your currency. Devaluing your currency is the best way to go. When you were in office, did you, any day or time?
We have a mechanism, unlike say the busier days and whatever, where you announce, I am devaluing the currency, right? And then boom, big, reduction one day.
Okay.
Now we have a devaluation that is taking place every day.
So it's a
IMF
plan.
or no IMF or no IMF, we have adopted a policy since the structural adjustment program and ERP to allow the market to determine it. And that's why you are seeing depreciation every day, from 6.5 to 7.
Can we stop it?
Yes.
Why are we not stopping it?
That's the process I'm doing. You have to put structures in place.
Structures, number one?
Yes, so let me explain. Number one, I explained debt. You agree with me that, if you can make the projects, KJTIA, those were the 3 examples. KJTIA, how do you call it? Terminal 3 and MPS. Those were the pioneer projects which goes back to Nkrumah era and say, let the revenue from the project. So KGTI was supposed to have electronic locks. With this day and age, right? So if the electronic locks are there, and you are there earning income, and you are not paying the rent, and then, excuse me, because my mother was in the market, so it's all kind of, and then you go and you want to collect the rents, and then they threaten you with urine and with other things. Those stories and things like that. The collectors go away. Electronic, you lock it remotely. Nobody is there. You know it. And there's an office there that you should pay. If you don't pay, either come and make an arrangement. Yes, maybe you had a funeral, you had something. Come and make an arrangement. If you fail in the arrangement, it will be locked.
All right. Many honorable Seth Terkper na ebon komo me general questions. I have a question to ask.
So let me answer your forex. Question.
Answer the forex question then.
So what happens? What's the principal reason why the CD depreciates? The basic reason is that when cocoa prices are good and the cocoa output is good and price is good, gold output is good and the price is good, right? The economy, the CD starts stabilizing because your foreign exchange supply is stable. You don't have down. But when it strikes and something happens, Ukraine war, whatever, and demand goes down for your chocolate, cocoa prices will go down. So you see, what you have is you have good times, right? And then you have what? Bad times. Same with crude oil price. So you can now add crude oil, to gold and to cocoa. Good times, bad times. So what did we do? You were a journalist then. Okay. What did you do? What did we do when we discovered oil? From President Kufuor, he set up a team and he said, let's use oil differently, the revenue, from how we use gold or cocoa. 1.5 years. You remember those tours that were taking place, interviews and whatever. Dr. Makotufo, he led the Ministry of Finance, and Energy team. I was a deputy back then. So I was, involved. And it took us 1.5 years to fashion out the PRMA, the Petroleum Revenue Management Act. And we say, Minister of Finance, don't take the petroleum revenue, put it in the budget and treat it anyhow you like, right? So we created a stabilization fund. When times are good, then you build up. When the oil price is good, when there's no tariff bearing problem, if you remember, and output is stable, then you build up the fund and we put it in law. That's how can we build the stabilization fund. What is the essence? What is the relationship with foreign exchange, right? When the price starts going down, you have the stabilization fund, which we went to Attorney General to get an interpretation. And it's being held in dollars. So Bank of Ghana cannot also change it. So it means that at your need, when cocoa prices fall and the rest, and you need forex, you go and take the savings that you made in the stabilization fund. At the time when COVID strikes, you go and take the savings in the stabilization fund.
But some of these things, I don't want to ask any follow-up question on these things. Let me
let's talk about it because
I hear this discussion over and over again. When the NDC was in opposition in 2006, 7, and 8, that you assumed power in 2008, I had all these discussions left, center, right.
But when we didn't set up the structure, the stabilization fund.
Same thing happened. After you set up the stabilization fund, the sinking fund, and all those things, we still had serious economic challenges. Is it because it is what it is?
No.
Or
you see, let's be patient and see whether the initiative taught us a lesson and whether it could help us gradually, right? There's a debate going on now, and I'll come to it, global debate.
Okay.
You see, let's analyze. So I am saying every government has problems. Every government. I was in school. My grandparents and my parents.
Problems seem to be the same problems.
Yes,
we are just repeating the problems.
No, wait a minute, because the problems will come.
But we are the same problems.
No, yeah, exactly. So you prepare for the problems.
So why have we been always been confronted with the same problems for the past 20, 30 years.
No,
and also do not have solutions to them.
Wait a minute. When we also allow the narrative, as you seem to be doing now, to be repeating, and we are not taking our time to see whether, wait, this initiative, I gave you an example, and I said, Akosomo Dam paid for itself. How come all of a sudden, every borrowing has to be supported by sovereign guarantee?
So how is Circle Dubai interchange paying for itself?
That one, because you can't put a toll, because you disrupt traffic.
So it can pay for itself?
No, it was going to be, remember.
And even tolls now, we are not paying anymore?
No, wait a minute, let me explain. Yeah, we're not paying anymore, but we oppose it, because that is what, if you go to the US, right now from US, from Florida all the way into Canada, you can buy only one, toll. You don't have to, so they don't have different rates or whatever, even if they are different rates. So the same electronic thing on your dashboard, you can just drive through. Previously, you had to stop every state. From Florida, you get to Virginia, you stop. You get to Maryland, you stop. You get to Delaware, you stop. You go to New York, New Jersey, you stop on the Turnpike. It is the money they are using to maintain the roads.
But we don't need that. We are too rich to have.
Wait a minute. So what I'm saying is that, look, copy them, because that's how they develop. So what we're going to do was MPS, right, Tema Port, was going to be linked to the motorway. And there will be a speed lane for articulators and the rest. And they will have a rate. There will be a speed lane. If you go to Korea, it's there. From the airport, there's a speed lane. If you are, and there will be local lanes. When you get to Maryland, you see a local lane. So the local people, they don't have to go through the toll. And those going to New York and the rest, and then they pay the toll. Right? So that was to be linked all the way, the intersection, Pokwase interchange, was to be linked with Oyibi interchange, so that we have another outer ring road from Tema, which will also take the traffic outside Accra.
So you're going to toll all that?
Yes, because that is a highway, and that is how you develop, because the budget cannot support that level of infrastructure. And that explains why we must borrow. But why, if we borrow, we must have a mechanism for repayment. Otherwise, the markets will be blocked to you.
All right, we'll come to all that. Now, let's come to the economy now. What will be your description?
We're talking about economy.
Yes, I mean, currently under the NPP, all those things we were talking about, some, but as it is today, what is your description?
We have serious, difficulty with the economy.
And
I'm not the way. And remember, for the asset for correction, but for the first time, His Excellency the President, who is normally bullish and is good, sometimes giving hopeful messages and the rest in his speeches and the rest, admitted that we had a problem, and he said it upfront. So I'm not the one saying, he said it upfront, in his speech. So that should tell you, if the president said that the economy has challenges, but we are working. We use the word challenges too, right? President Wamba used it several times. So that admission alone. So that it's not, the president is the one chairing cabinet. And it's come and he said you that you have challenges. If you couldn't believe Seth Terkper because I was following the number, you couldn't believe somebody else, the president has said that we have challenges.
Are you sure the current economic management team, they are up to the task?
This is about leadership.
No, are they up to the task?
We have their record. So let me say we have the record of the economic management team. The chairman of the economic management team is going to give a lecture today.
No, are they up to the task?
I'm coming to it. I've said we have challenges.
Okay.
If they were up to the task fully with 3 oil fields, right? If they were up to the task with COVID, severest, we all admit, compared to even global financial crisis under Professor Mills and all that, right? And they got $5 to $5.5 billion US to resolve COVID.
Okay.
And if you are blaming COVID, you are getting almost half of what GRE brings in a year. We can do the math to resolve COVID. We shouldn't be where we are today. If we grant, granted.
So from this analogy, they are not up to the task.
You want a soundbite. I've given you the explanation.
They are not up to the task.
No, wait a minute.
You've been a finance minister before. You in the Fourth Republic, you saw Kwesi Botwe, you saw Osafo Maafo, Kojoban Redu, yourself, Dr. Dufo, yes. and all the others now to Keno Foriata.
Because I'm one of the.
You are a financial person. You've been a finance minister before. So looking at the strategies, the plans, and everything, this current economic management team, are they up to the task?
I'm saying if the economy where it is today is showing that, things could have been done better.
Okay. The biggest topic now.
The reason I don't want to use sweeping statement is that I know individuals on that team whom I have worked with from the PNDC era before I went out and came back, and I know their capability. So sometimes you also have to be fair.
So why can't they solve the problems?
That's why I said, what went wrong? Is it leadership? Is it whatever? That is what
leadership. You mean the presidency? That the president is not allowing them to do what they're supposed to be doing?
No, I'm not an insider.
You know their capabilities.
Yes.
And now they can't do it. They can't exhibit what you know.
So collectively, they couldn't achieve. But you can go into some of the reasons. I can give you some of the reasons. For example, if you say NDC left, arrears, from they started with 11 billion, then it was changed to 7 billion. And in the 2016 budget line, you show the 7 billion, then you show an offset, right, of 5 billion, and what you carried forward was 2 billion. If that arrears, why did you carry forward 2 billion? And what did you do with the 5 billion? We started tracking that. And let me give you the reason why it's important.
Okay.
You remember, was it about a month ago or less, the World Bank country director?
Oh, yes, about a month ago.
Yes.
Yes.
Said that before COVID, Ghana had arrears, right, of, he said, 5% of GDP. Which, if you take simple calculation, 10%, the GDP, let's say around, let's take it that it was 350. Okay? So 10% is 37. 5% of GDP, right, is what? Again, you divide by 2, right? So 10 is 35. 5 will be 17.5. Okay? So that is how you quantify it. Ghana cedis. That means that's what it means. If I compare that 17.5, or let's say even 15, to the provision in the budget for this year, 1.5. 1.5, 1.9, right? And I've been asking myself, what happened to that 5 billion? Does it keep increasing? We hear about energy sector debt. We hear about debt by ESLA. That is the correction that we have to make. And these are some of the reasons why we are where we are.
Okay, so all these things that you're telling me tell me that they are not up to the task. The people from the PNDC time doing their capabilities cannot solve problems. But that aside, the biggest economic discussion now is the E-levy.
Wait a minute, let me just say my approach. I talk to listeners who are discerning.
Okay.
I must try and explain and let them make up their mind.
Yes, and then from your explanation,
yes,
we can make up a very simple conclusion.
Absolutely.
That they can solve the problem.
Yes, with all the, with the COVID money that came in with all this, there was a missed opportunity, definitely.
Okay. E-levy, I know you don't support it.
Yes, I don't.
And you will never support it.
If corrections are made, 1, if corrections are made, and 2, if unlike ESLA, which we did, because we did a levy, I don't want to be hypocritical. ESLA is a levy. But when we did it, we said it will lapse in 3 to 5 years. That was 2020 at the most. And we demonstrated, it isn't that we handed over immediately, but we demonstrated when we did the VRA refinancing, the very first one that was done in 2016. Right? So it's not true that we didn't do anything about bailout costs. We brought in VRA, the banks, and the contractor, because VRA went for the loan. So we brought in the banks, 13 of them, local ones, where they went for the money, foreign ones. And we said, we are going to take the extra money and give it to you.
Okay.
VRA agreed.
All right.
Right. So if, we have this ESLA and everything, sorry, I'm losing my train of thinking. You see, so let me try to
That's okay. That's okay.
So if in spite of this, right, we're talking about arrears, we still have a huge arrears. What happened when the ESLA was bundled into a loan? What happened to that loan? When we change course and we decide to collapse the banks, instead of using what you call the bad bank approach, right? So these are some of the questions that we need to be asking ourselves.
Let me ask you this direct question.
So the E-levy, yes. So
yes,
E-levy. So yes, okay, I now recall. So the point I'm making is that one, if E-levy will be corrected not to tax savings, that's my basic objection. And I can explain. One, if it will be
I'll come to that. I'll give you an opportunity to explain that one. Let me ask you.
So that's my first. My second, wait a minute, my second. If E-levy will be seen as the temporary taxes, which from Dr. Botwe we have used, but we take off when we are in crisis. There are two of them. The fiscal stabilization levy or national stabilization levy and the temporary import duty. Dr. Botwe used them. After Dr. Botwe, Honorable Senior Minister Osafo used it. Honorable Barry
used it.
They overlapped, so they used it. They all took it off. My boss, Dr. Dufo, he introduced it. We took it off. After the crisis, we take it off, right? President Mahama brought it in when we had a collapse in the crude oil prices. And we started taking them off. It is only this government that has come and is keeping ESLA, it is keeping the levy there from our time. And they are still there.
So from this point, you support the E-levy?
No.
But there are certain aspects that you do not.
Of course, if it is, yes.
So you support, but you want certain aspects to be dealt with.
And you must prove to me also that the VAT things you did, if you corrected them, VAT cannot give you that money. Is it because you're ashamed you don't want to go back? Those things that you did in 2017?
You are not there yet. A lot of Ghanaians, more than half of the population, are saying no to E-levy.
Yes.
Should your party be giving, you are one of them,
yes,
say no to E-levy?
Yes.
Is the NDC going to cancel E-levy when you come to power?
Do I know?
No, would you?
No, wait a minute.
Your party?
No.
Is the NDC going to do that?
No, it's not a straightforward answer. You see? Yeah. No, wait, let me explain.
You don't support it.
I don't support it.
You are a financial guru in the party.
Yes.
Your general secretary do not support it.
Yes.
Your chairman do not.
Yes.
John Dramani Mahama.
Yes.
Do not support.
Yes, and we have reasons for not supporting it. So let's start from the reason.
And you are not going to cancel it when you come.
Wait a minute. We have reasons for not supporting it. Let me explain.
Okay, explain.
Yes, sometimes yes or no simplifies the issue. I'm saying, I just cited, ESLA was to go away in 3 years. It didn't go away.
Okay.
And the energy sector debt is increasing. Enhanced road levy, which is part of ESLA, was to go away. It hasn't gone away. And in fact, we lack the time. But if you just permit me, we have, I counted what is it in there, 13 levies already. 13 levies. Are you aware? We converted the GET fund and NHIL too, which were regarded as a VAT. We converted them to straight levy. Then we kept ESLA continuously. It's a levy. Then you have the fiscal stabilization levy. It's still there.
That's right.
In addition, we've imposed a FinSec levy, right? And then on and on. Sanitation levy. So you have GET fund levy, e-transaction levy, that is the one we're talking about, which is not new. COVID health levy, and so many of them, right?
So we have too many levies.
So it's a season of levies. So and if those levies could not resolve,
you are looking up to a time.
Let me answer your question, please, Captain. Let me answer your question. So the point I'm making is that what is it on the expenditure side that is making us borrow excessively? And we left 57. We are now at 85, not 81, by the way.
85.3.
Yes, what is it in the expenditure which is not being disclosed? And when the World Bank is telling me that there are arrears, and that is the reason why they are imposing all these levies.
Okay.
You see, I wouldn't be.
So the levies are too many.
But yes, but in answer to your question, I would be doing an injustice to my party to quickly say we'll remove E-levy without knowing why they are doing it. If I can't,
you don't have to. You know why they are doing that? You don't support.
I know partially.
No, you don't support it.
Yes, I don't.
Do you know why they are doing it?
Listen. That's what I don't know.
If you don't know, then why do you say you don't support it?
Because I'm a tax expert.
Then it means that what they're doing is wrong.
It's wrong.
So if it is wrong and you know it's wrong, when you come to power, would you cancel what is wrong?
No, what I'm saying is that, wait a minute, I have told you that if it is because there are problems which they are not disclosing, and we come and we see those problems, we will take it up, but, maybe tell Ghanaians, this is the problem. That's why President Mahama says, do a national forum. And let's see the expenditure.
Good. With the national forum and everything, you've just told me it is wrong levy.
Yes, it's wrong levy.
So if it is a wrong levy, you as a tax expert and a financial expert, when you come to power, would you cancel E-levy?
Listen. It is like, I relate everything to a house.
Okay, relate
everything to a house.
I'm listening.
Right. You have a family business. Let's say you were in school. So you are not deeply involved in it. But you are the senior one, right? God forbid, and I'm not talking personal.
Oh, that's okay.
Then the patriarch of the house, dies.
Okay.
For you, what you see is a business that is doing well. Because when you go there, you see Captain Smart, you see everybody doing very well, right? Then, after the funeral and everything, the accountant comes and says, oh, yeah, the business is doing well. We are doing profit, making profits. But we have these loans, we have this. If you are facing competition, let's say as a studio, right, and you must reduce, would you still reduce, your advert fees and the rest and not pay the bank loan?
I will use the same analogy as a question for you.
And that's what I'm saying, that before I say yes or no, I want to know the facts.
So from the analogy you just made, whether you reduce and leave the bank loans or maintain and pay the bank loans, that is, you don't know.
No, if I come, wait a minute. If I come just as we did in Senchi, that's how we did in Senchi. If I come and I open the books and everything, and I'm able to tell you that, what people are saying is that the energy sector debt, in spite of ESLA, which we introduced, is now 12 billion and not 2.2 billion US dollars. If I come and I examine what information they gave to the World Bank and IMF, and I see that the arrears is actually, as I just calculated, 15 billion and not 1.9 billion, I will need revenue.
So you keep E-levy.
Oh no, our dialogue.
So you say you need revenue.
No,
so after dialoguing, you maintain E-levy.
It's an obnoxious tax, right? It's an obnoxious tax.
And it is a wrong one as well.
Yes, but just as we did with single spine, the opposite is what you are saying. The opposite. Let me give you single spine. When we came in, the debt was there, right? But it was public service. We studied the situation and we said, wait a minute, this thing was meant to improve public sector pay.
Okay.
To level it so that equal work, equal pay, equal qualification, equal pay. It should depend that because you are in foreign affairs, you are here, you are earning something different from your classmates and the rest because you are in Ministry of Energy or whatever. So there is a rationalization behind it. Yes, the pilot went wrong. But we didn't say it was President Kufuor who brought it, so we cancel it. I'm looking at the opposite. We didn't say no. We didn't say it was President Kufuor who brought it, so we are canceling it. What did we do? We called the public service unions and everybody. We sat down, dialogued. We said we would implement it, but give us 3 years to pay the arrears. In fact, it took 5 years from Dr. Dufour, to my era, to pay the arrears. I see that as a practical way of managing the economy. So I want to know. I want to see that. In fact, if you remember, Professor Mills suspended in agreement with the union for 1 year for us to analyze the problems. And they were there, and everybody. So I'm telling you the same thing. It's only not that we are looking at the opposite side and it's about revenue.
But from your initial answers to me about E-levy, there are certain aspects of the whole thing that you don't agree. It doesn't have to tax savings. And you mentioned another one. I've just forgotten.
It is taxing savings.
Savings.
And then it is destroying our tax structure.
Okay, so for example,
so
if taxing savings is out, and all these things that you're talking about that is disrupting our tax structure, if these things are being streamlined, you would agree to it?
Yes, if we streamline them.
Then you agree to
That's
it.
a condition.
So you agree to E-levy?
No. No, I'm rather talking about the opposite. Because
Okay.
one of the things, let me give you one of the things we are also going to do is to look at the VAT. The NHIL, input tax credit that they blocked, which is increasing prices. The GET fund, input tax which they blocked and it's increasing prices. We will take that, we'll take E-levy and we'll tell the public we introduce a VAT on financial services.
Okay.
No core. Let me correct myself. It wasn't all financial services because I don't.
Okay.
Otherwise, we'll be making the same mistake.
All right.
Taxing savings. We introduced the financial services tax on the fees because you are getting a service from the bank. That's why they are charging the fees. We introduced a VAT on the financial service fee, right? Because you want the benefit of it here, you want the benefit of that, which was cancelled in 2017. We would convince the public that that's a better option because that is taxing consumption. It is not taxing savings. And if we get that consensus, sure, then we'll cancel E-levy.
If you don't get the consensus,
because there's an alternative.
If you don't get it,
we will get a consensus because we have to.
So you get the consensus to cancel it.
No, that's where the professionalism comes in and says we have a better alternative, or give us 1 year, to resolve, a few things and whatever. But I'm convinced that we will get alternatives. But we have to analyze, including some of the initiatives, that were cancelled, right? In fact, it's not the E-levy. Remember that the personal income tax rate was increased to 35%, the top marginal rate, 35 down to 30%. Again, it's punitive because 30 years, the top marginal rate was either 65 or 55. And we kept reducing it. And the goal was to reduce it to about 2025. So why come and take it back to 30?
Now it's 30.
Because of, you see, in all this conversation, right? Me and you have been doing one thing.
Okay.
We have been looking at the revenue, E-levy. We've been looking at, and I myself have been talking about that. We have not spoken about expenditure.
Yes,
because the revenue is needed. Oh no, it's like a household.
Yes, I understand. Government expenditure is always.
No, wait a moment. A government is always like a household, right? Let's because there are 3 players in the economy.
Okay.
Or 4, but let's say 3. The domestic ones are households.
Okay.
Who bring their taxes and the rest, because businesses. And as you started beautifully, if you are going to borrow 1 million, and the interest rate is high, and because credit is being crowded,
right.
Yes. And then government, those are the 3 players in the economy. And they must all behave the same way. So if for some reason, you are not earning the same income, you are not getting the same overtime and whatever, the same way you call the family or you have a pillow talk and say, I think we have to reduce some expenditure somewhere, because, things are, or even now that prices.
The president says they've
even
reduced
now,
their salaries by 25% and everything.
Oh, that's okay, let me finish and then I'll come to that. So you have that conversation. As a business, now prices are escalating and the rest. I'm sure your management, media general, has already met and look at how can we, otherwise you won't survive, it. So the government must give us both sides. What is it that is pushing the expenditure? Because every program we have done, whether it's homegrown,
is Kenny your friend? Have you requested for those things too?
No, it's my friend.
Request for those things, those information. I mean, you are an expert like
No. The law says they must be published. So I don't even have to request it.
And they haven't published
for instance, they haven't published all. Or we use means I just showed you. Or we get information because they have to disclose it. As we speak, this morning, I'm sure you covered it. We are told that IMF is in town.
Yes, IMF is in town.
Yes. You see, that's one aspect of the IMF. We signed that Article 4. Whether you exit or not, like 2019, they'll come. If you don't give them the information, they'll tell the world. And your problem will even be worse because Fitch will just give you even more downgrade. Because you signed that Article 4 to disclose. So whether they like it or not, I'm patient. After that Article 4, if it is truly Article 4.
You mentioned some 11 levies that you said this government introduced since they came. Can you mention them for me?
Oh, okay. So let me take my time.
Yes, you take your time and mention them one after
National Health Insurance
National
Levy.
Health Insurance Levy. One.
Get Fund Levy.
Get Fund Levy.
Which is now partly VAT and partly levy.
Okay.
Then you have the E-Transactions Levy. That's a new one. So that one, that's E-levy.
Okay.
We have the COVID Health Levy.
Okay.
Then I need a revenue sheet.
Okay.
Okay. So I have the revenue sheet. We have the National Fiscal Stabilization Levy, which we introduced and has been kept. And in addition, FinSec levy, cleanup levy. Same ESLA. Okay. ESLA is not enough. So after increasing ESLA twice, the
FinSec one.
FinSec there is there also. Then you have the Energy Fund Levy and the Road Fund Levy, which are ESLA, which were increased. Okay. So you can't say it's just ours, it's yes as well. Then you also have the E-Transactions Levy, that's a new one. Okay. You have the COVID Levy, which is also there. Then you have the Energy and other revenue, Energy Debt Recovery Levy, Public Lighting Levy, National Electrification Levy, Price Stabilization Levy. All these are part of ESLA that should have gone away.
All right.
In 2020.
Price Stabilization Levy.
Yes.
Okay.
That is the one where we could have got the subsidy. So where did the money go? Okay. That is the fund for paying subsidies so that the petrol prices would have gone up. When we were in office, we converted this to buy strategic stock.
Okay. So is that the last one?
No, it's not the last one. Then you have because those are ESLA. So I wanted to, then you have the Delta Fund, which is a levy. Then you have the Sanitation and Pollution Levy. Then buried in the expenditure, somewhere, where's the expenditure sheet? You have the Export Development Levy, which is EDIF, old levy, so they are being carried on. You have other funds that were created, which must be funded. Mineral Development Fund, Mineral Income Investment Fund, they don't have the name levy. Then you have the Plastic Waste Recycling Levy, also an old one. So maybe it's even more than.
So all these levies we pay.
That's what my second point. They are in the tax structure.
So how would you solve this?
We rationalize.
How?
The same way we did in ERP SAP. We had a number of levies when we started ERP SAP. A number of them. You remember super sales tax?
Sure.
I'm sure you remember. 200%. Right? We had different types of excise. Communication service tax. I should have brought a law. Sorry, no communication service tax. The service taxes. I should have brought a law. They were listed one by one. They were about 9 before VAT. So all of these were collapsed, and that's why we have one tax called VAT.
So
all that we are doing,
you collapse some of these.
We'll keep the rate and we'll remove the structures within the VAT because we increase it to 17.5, which is competitive enough. We don't want to go to 2025.
Okay.
So it's about rush. You see, the more.
So you knock some of these levies.
Let me give you one of the problems. GRA has a headache already collecting PAYE, coming to audit you. GRA has a problem already coming to audit, your corporate income. They have a problem, we say expand the tax base, meeting the roadside people, and sending staff there. Then you impose all this levy. It is just an opportunity for people to just waste their time. They will just not pay and they will come up and down. Are you going to multiply the staff by how many? So
you say you restructure all these?
You restructure, just as we did. Our experience
when you are in opposition, we hear restructure on levies. When the MPP also come to opposition, when we come to restructure.
No, wait a minute. They are not, if this, right? There's sort of restructuring. We said, I give you reasons. I said, and I went back all the way to Rawlings, and we said, economies will have difficulty, and then they impose some temporary. In fact, if we manage the stabilization fund well, right, we would stop imposing those taxes. And that's how your economy becomes competitive. Okay. Or the next time you introduce them, because of the stabilization fund, you will not introduce them at 3%. you introduce them at maybe 1%. And then over a period of 20 years or so, it's been 30 years since we did the rationalization of taxes. We are destroying it with all these taxes. But what I'm saying is that, can you imagine your accountant, collecting all of this on the invoice and, putting up an automated system, just as they are going to do again to do compliance and whatever? How many hours will the tax auditor come and sit here? And so you are a company above board, I believe. Those who are not above board and they see an opportunity, evasion and avoidance. So you're only creating more jobs for GRA. That's what we call administration cost goes up for you, and then compliance cost goes up for GRA.
Okay. Let me ask my final question and then probably give you some 2 or 3 minutes to wrap up. You've told me that cancelling E-levy is not a yes or no
we're
answer.
back to E-levy.
No, I'm just building a base for my final question. Okay. It's not a yes or no straightforward answer. You would have to do consultations like Senche and all that to be able to come to a better conclusion that we should cancel it or we should not cancel it.
By the way, I was quoting my former flag bearer, who hopefully will become the flag bearer again. He said publicly, he requested...
Your former flag bearer?
Yes.
Who hopefully will become the flag bearer again?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Right. So, and he had already, and he's a leader in the leadership of the party. So he himself and others have said it. So I can take it as a party position. Just that if you have a problem, just as we did with Senchi, let's have another, consensus on the way forward, particularly with respect.
So at the back of all
with respect to expenditures like free SHS.
At the back of all this, if you were the finance minister today, what would you have done right?
Do what we have been doing in the past. I had a privilege. No, I'm serious. I had a privilege. That's why I'm able to talk confidently about Dr. Buchi's era. I had the privilege to be working at the National Revenue Secretariat, which is now GRA, early in my career, before I left for the IMF. And I've visited and known countries, and seen what countries did. There were countries, I wanted to tell you, Dubai and the rest. When you go to Dubai, you walk in that corridor, you see how the airport started. Excuse me, yeah. You see how the airport started. Maybe we should have something like that to show how we had Terminal 1, then Terminal 2, and now Terminal 3, so that we see the modernity. So when people get there, they'll be motivated that Ghana can also one day get to Dubai.
Okay.
Right. So the point I'm making answer to your question is very straightforward. The forum has already been called by my leadership.
So we waited
because
to see that.
Because we did it, and it bore fruits.
Well, I know very well one day.
But let me just make a quick point. Let me repeat. All that we have discussed is on the revenue side.
We haven't gone to the expenditure.
Yes.
I wanted us to know the revenue.
Okay.
Then I would bring you again. We'll go deep into expenditure.
Right.
Why is it that government expenditure always swelling? As against revenue? We'll look at that in detail.
Yes.
And then I will still have some questions for you. Maybe that one to say will not be a yes or no straightforward answer. Thank you so much, Honorable Emmanuel Seth Terkper, a very fantastic financial and tax expert, a former finance minister. Thank you, sir.
You're most welcome.
For your time this morning.
You're most welcome.
It's been wonderful talking to you.
I hope it will be another one. Was it 3 years or 5 years before we meet again?
Oh, no. I mean, I'm looking at a week or 2.
Oh, okay.
We'll bring you back. So we'll go into expenditure. And then maybe I'll look for another financial expert from the other side.
Oh, no, definitely.
And then we can have
definitely.
a proper debate on revenue generation and the expenditure.
Oh, definitely. It helps for the public.
All right, then.
Yes.
Thank you so much, sir. I'm Honorable Seth Terkper, former finance minister. We'll be right back.